Hey guys, today I'm going to be going over the statewide buyer and seller advisory. This form is used to advise the buyers and the sellers as to their rights and responsibilities for disclosures and inspections during the escrow period. So here we go. All right. The physical condition of the land and improvements being purchased are not guaranteed by the seller or brokers. Hence, the buyer has to do their due diligence in doing their research and hiring the appropriate inspectors and companies to perform the appropriate reports. You should conduct a thorough investigation of the property, both personally and with the appropriate professionals. If professionals recommend further inspections, you should contact qualified experts to conduct such inspections. You should retain your own professional, even if your seller or broker has provided you with existing reports. You should read all written reports given to you and discuss those reports with the persons who prepared them. So don't be shy about calling your NHD company directly or your inspector or the termite company to ask any questions that you may have about the report. It's always important to get insight and clarification about the facts and findings. As a buyer, you also have a right to request that the seller make repairs or corrections or take any other action based on the inspections or disclosures, but the seller is not obligated to respond to you or make any such repairs, corrections, or other requested actions. If the seller is unwilling or unable to satisfy your request, you can act within certain time periods. You may have the right to cancel the agreement. And if you cancel outside of these periods, you may be in breach of the agreement and your deposit may be at risk. You are advised to seek legal, tax, and other assistance from appropriate professionals in order to fully understand the implications of any other documents or actions during the transaction. If you are doing a 1031 exchange, you are advised to contact an exchange accommodator to discuss the proper method and timing of the exchange. The terms of the agreement and any other counteroffers and addenda establish your rights and responsibilities, and that will be discussed in another video. So, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you are strongly advised to investigate the condition and sustainability of all aspects of the property. If you do not do so, you're acting against the advice of brokers. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you have a duty to disclose material facts known to you that affect the value or desirability of the property. From my experience, a lot of sellers hesitate to disclose minor things, thinking that it's not a big deal to disclose, or it's just something normal, or they don't feel it's such a big thing. However, the more you disclose, the less likely you are to be part of a litigation lawsuit with regards to disclosures. You want to make sure that you're doing your best to disclose any little thing. It doesn't mean that you're trying to kill the deal. It just means that the buyer is being put on notice and informed of all of these little things, and they have to exercise their right to investigate what you're telling them. If the buyer does not investigate the issues you have advised them about, then it's on them. So make sure that you disclose any little thing that you can think about your property, and you should be good to go. All right, so this form does not substitute completing a real estate transfer disclosure statement. We call it the TDS, and that will also be discussed in a different video. The terms of agreement establish your rights and responsibilities, and that's with regards to the residential purchase agreement and any addendas that are attached to it. You're advised to seek legal, tax, and other assistance from the professionals. We already went over that. Oops. Brokers do not have the expertise in all areas and matters affecting the property or your valuation of it. We are very good about giving guidance and pointing you in the right direction, but at the end of the day, I'm not a licensed contractor, I'm not a certified mold inspector, and I'm not a roofer, so it is challenging for me to give you a professional opinion about a certain item because I don't have those qualifications. So, down to the nitty-gritty. This form is awesome because it spells out to the buyer all of the items that they can potentially inspect. And this form did not used to look like this. It didn't have all of these items. So it was kind of vague as to what the buyer could and couldn't inspect. But as you see here, this form goes through so many items that are helpful for the buyers. The investigation of physical conditions, property use and ownership. You want to make sure that if you're buying a property with the intent to Airbnb, that there are no restrictions in the city, or if there are, you want to make sure that you're going to be okay with them. Offsite and neighborhood conditions, legal requirements for federal, state, and local, contract-related issues and terms, other factors affecting the property, local disclosures and advisories, and here you have it. It goes into very detailed items as to what you can inspect. Pets and animals, if you have an allergy with pet dandruff, it may be something that you need to know. Septic systems, you may not know how to operate them, how often to clean them, and what it entails versus a city-connected sewer. Soil and geologic conditions, if you're buying a rural property, you may want to have somebody inspect the soil conditions to ensure that your property isn't going to be part of a landslide or it's in danger of something. Square footage, again, just because the seller says that the house is 1,500 square feet, or if the MLS says that the house is 1,500 square feet, it's your responsibility as a buyer to ensure the square footage that you're actually purchasing. Water intrusion, that's something that needs to be disclosed. Well and water systems, wood destroying pests, aka known as termites. Building permits and zoning compliance. Sometimes you may not know that or be aware that your property is zoned for perhaps a duplex, or maybe you're buying in a street where you see a lot of duplexes and then your house doesn't have a duplex and you say, oh, look, everybody's building duplexes around here. I'm going to buy this house because it has potential. But guess what? Perhaps your property size is just a few feet short from meeting the density requirements of the city to build a duplex on the property. Therefore, that's probably why it's the only house without a duplex on it. So those are the type of things you need to investigate when it comes to building permits, zoning, and code compliance. Or if you're thinking of doing a mixed use property and you're thinking that you can open up a bar and live upstairs, but then you find out that the city doesn't allow a liquor license due to whatever zoning. By your intended future use and modifications to the property. California Fair Plan talks about if you're buying a house in the hillside, oceanfront, and just letting you know that their insurance coverage may be limited. Future repairs and replacements and remodels. Buyer and seller advise that the replacement or repairs of certain systems or building remodeling of all or a portion may trigger requirements that may be complied with until the replacement, repair, or rebuild remodel has occurred. For instance, permits or codes. heating and ventilating and air conditioning systems. Make sure they're working functional. You may want to have a HVAC tech come by and do an individual inspection of the ductwork and the unit itself. Historical designation. There's some buildings that may be in a historical zone, and you may need permission from the city to make any modifications to the property. And that's important to know because you might want to paint your house yellow and green, but the city will probably say, sorry. Insurance, title insurance, and insurance after foreclosure. You want to make sure that when you're purchasing the home, you're not purchasing it with any liens or that there's any title issues on the house. Land lease, oh gosh, this comes across once in a while. Once in a while, there will be homes that are built on land. However, the land is only being leased, and you have to incorporate that into your debt to income ratio if the property is going to be financed. Also, you may need to apply for that specific lease agreement through the city or whoever's leasing the land. Marijuana, cannabis, and methamphetamine labs, these are very common in California, so make sure if you suspect, maybe something that you look into. Title insurance, rent and eviction control laws, retrofit, short-term rentals and restrictions, like I mentioned earlier, views, swimming pools, security and safety. So it gives the buyer so many items to consider, and I love it because it was not like this before. You know, they were just either recommendations by your realtor or yourself, or you were an experienced buyer who knew that needed to get certain type of inspections performed on the property prior to purchasing it. But this is so awesome. It's a lengthy document, but as you see, it's not just a bunch of paragraphs. It's a lot of items that you should consider as a buyer when you're purchasing property. Even if the market is super hot, you want to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into, and you don't get buyer's remorse a week after you purchase the property because you forgot to look into any of these items. This is something that your realtor will give you when you are purchasing a property, so you can actually probably use this as a checklist to go down before you close escrow. Well, before you close escrow, make sure you discuss with your agent as to when your inspection contingency period is. That way, you do not lose out on the opportunity to inspect. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and catch you at my next